and we have new people we meet every week. But we're real thankful to do business here and other areas abroad, but got good people around me. My wife and my daughter-in-law run the office, my son runs the irrigation crew, and I run the landscaping and other phases of the business. We're pretty diversified, more than what we started out as mowing a few yards. Now we're doing commercial construction and a lot of erosion control and drainage, irrigation, retaining walls, all kinds of stone work. Pretty well all the way from start to finish on anything new. Work with a lot of builders and developers here in Jacksonville. We have some. I'll start calling names of contracts I have and people I work for. I'll miss some people, but we're blessed to start here and work our way mostly north. We work a little bit around Rusk, but we work a lot in Bullard and Tyler and surrounding areas. We work as far against my office manager here, and forgets her better advice. We go as far as Mineola and way up toward Canton sometime. But we travel kind of where the builders and developers are. And God's been good to us, blessed us. We love Jacksonville, we love the people. We got a lot of friends here, and this will always be home as long as we can be here.
Jacksonville is a great place to raise a family. Now we got grandkids and the next generation, so it's a blessing.
And thank y'all, I appreciate it. It's an honor to be a part of this.
All right, so do you want to announce the next one, Mayor?
Our second special presentation is Jacksonville ISD CTE Student of the Month, again presented by Shane.
Yes, and so typically this award is presented by Sherry McDonald, who really heads up our workforce development, and she's been really the one driving the force behind all of our connection with the CTE department at Jacksonville ISD. Tonight we are presenting our two CTE Senior Spotlight Awards. As I mentioned a minute ago, we weren't here at the November meeting, so we're going to present these awards to two different students. We have Luna Esquivel and Alina Garcia Villegas. Those are the students that were nominated. Congratulations. And then we have Miss Taylor here. She is one of the CTE teachers, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about each of these fantastic and outstanding students and what they've done and the nominations that they received. So, Ms. Taylor.
Alina Garcia Villegas is one of our students that is in culinary in the FCS pathway. She's also involved in health science and in the medical pathway, so she has been involved in multiple different pathways within CTE. For us to be able to nominate her, we basically have many requirements. I'm the director of the CTE Senior Spotlight Committee, and she stands out because she volunteers everywhere. You will find her everywhere. She's involved with anything she can get her hands on that is to help the community, so that's where she got nominated. And then Luna is involved in the education and training pathway. What made her stick out is when she was a freshman, she was in the culinary pathway. And decided in the middle of her sophomore year, I don't want to do this, I want to be a teacher. And how do I become a teacher now? So she got to the education pathway and volunteers, goes to all 5 elementaries and intermediate schools all year long. She's involved in culinary, actually, so as she uses her certificates that she has received from culinary at her work at the moment as she's working through school. But that is what makes them stick out. They are wonderful students. They are so involved and they help our community every day. Ms. Harris and Ms. Trump, the CTE and CCMR director and CTE and director, my brain just lost it. But with their help and then the help from JTED. JTED is where I worked in Arizona, and I always get those two mixed up, and it happens every time. But they are wonderful students, and they are the prime that we have. You always hear how bad kids are today. They're not. These are the kids we have. We have so many of these that stand out, and we want to make sure people know about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Shane. Before we go any further, I'd like to say thanks to Sheriff Dixon for being here tonight. We appreciate what you do and your group does for our county, so thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Our next item is our citizens' participation. This is where we set aside time to hear concerns from our citizens. It's not a dialogue. We can't enter into that, but did we have anybody turn in any card? None? Okay. Very good. We'll go to our next item is our consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda require little or no deliberation from the council. You see it's approval of minutes, appointment to the library board, approval of purchase of a Generac road closure, and one other resolution. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Tim McRae,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Mindy Gallup. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 8 is to discuss and consider acceptance of a donation from the Jacksonville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, I think Chief Markowski's going to come forward and say a few words about this wonderful organization and donation that they plan to make this evening.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Council,
Mhm.
Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So what we've been working on is kind of a pistol transition program. Is to upgrade our current sidearms. That program is pretty expensive, and I didn't want to burden the general fund yet, so I haven't asked for that. However, the CPA is a group that we have. So we have Citizen Police Academies. And it's a 10 to 11 week program where we can get volunteers from the community to come through and actually spend 11 weeks to see what the police department does and kind of our operations. With that group, you can become an alumni, which is where you volunteer for the police department. So we have the best group of volunteers that there is. I could probably call the president, Dylan, at any time and get 10 people within 10 minutes. So it's great. Something else they do is they do fundraisers to help support us with some equipment that we need or training or anything like that. So part of this pistol transition program, I attended a board meeting and mentioned it to them, and they have raised the funds for the entire transition that will cost the city $0. So.
Dylan, gonna say anything?
Probably not.
Okay, photo.
Do we need to? Do you need to?
Vote
Do
to
business on
accept
that?
the donation.
Okay, yeah. Do we know how much the donation, are they gonna talk about that later?
42,000.
$42,000.
$42,000. Wow. Phenomenal. Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to accept that donation.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we accept the donation of $42,000 from the Citizens Police Association alumni for the transition of the pistol program for the police department.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Tim McRae,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Letitia Horace. Any discussion we might have? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Did y'all want a picture of the check and all that kind of stuff?
That Dylan's got the right stuff. I'd rather have the little one. I want the little one.
Good to see you, sir. Haven't met a PNZ in a while. I haven't, you have.
Y'all keep up the good work. I ain't gonna get the
Like a man at the pot. Rodney, feel free to go down there. I'm sorry about that. You sure? You wanna come stand?
He voted to accept the donation.
Oh, I was gonna say, you wanna come stand down here?
Yeah.
Cause I'm photobombing. Yeah. I photobomb every picture. Yeah.
I guess they're gonna keep that autograph.
Is that really gonna be a fireworks?
Trade them in toward the
Oh,
back. Run
okay,
that
I
down.
forgot you would see it. Yeah.
I'm sure there's pictures.
That's a pretty good one. I don't need another game.
It's not.
Steven said it.
Very good. Thank that group for, helping out our budget. That's wonderful. Item number 9 is to discuss and act upon awarding a RFP for demolition contract.
I'll give it just a second.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think, because pretty much all of us on tours are citizens. Yeah, yeah, it's really good.
Chief told me if I go through, they're gonna tase me, so I'm getting, I got cold
You
feet.
could take it. That could work in reverse.
All right, Mayor, thank you. Item 9 is related to the issuance of some bids for demolition services here in the city. The Zoning Board of Adjustment did meet on November 19th and considered, we got a lot of glare there. Looks like, thought I had the date there yet. My apologies.
November
19.
Is it?
Yeah,
Or that's when it's
and the
advertised.
26th.
Well, that's when we advertised the bid.
Oh, advertising.
My apologies. They met earlier this year. I think it was the same night as National Night Out, if memory serves.
I think that's right.
They held a meeting that evening to consider 14 properties that were deemed to be substandard by the city's building official. This is a process that our building official, Mr. Chris Silby, leads in tandem with sometimes our fire marshal, fire chief, and certainly always our city attorney. After that meeting, 9 structures were deemed to be substandard and were issued demolition orders. We did issue a request for proposal for sealed bids for this, advertised it in the Jacksonville Progress on both November 19th and 26th. We conducted the bid opening on December 2nd, and we came up with a total cost to the city of $46,941.14 of our $100,000 that we budgeted. We will plan to do another round of this fiscal year sometime, probably late summer 2026. It's split into a group of 5 properties and a group of 4 properties between 2 different vendors that we do have experience with here in the city previously, Chandler Trucking and Services and DEAA Corporation, excuse me. So with your blessing tonight, we will issue notice to proceeds and hope to have these structures torn down and removed within the next 60 days.
Great. So I'll entertain a motion on that item, on the RFP.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the demolition contract award as presented for $46,941.14.
We have a motion to accept by Latitia Horace,
Second?
second by Mayor Pro Tem Tim McRae. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 10 is to consider and act upon an ordinance amending the master fee schedule of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Jacksonville for Sports Association contract, water, wastewater, and sanitation fees, including bulky waste program rates and various others, effective January 1, 2026.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, you have a 15-page document in front of you. We did review this at length at your workshop last Thursday, but I will spend some time this evening summarizing it for those in attendance and those who may be watching, especially the major changes. So with that, this document addresses fees that the city charges or assesses in 13 areas. You see them in alphabetical order there on the right-hand side of the screen. And really the intent behind adopting a master fee ordinance and regularly reviewing it and amending it is transparency, and also just making sure that our rates remain competitive and do the best job that we see possible at aligning fees and associated costs to reduce the burden on taxpayers with direct services. So many of the fees that we'll address tonight and review tonight are completely optional. They're not taxes, they're fees for services that somebody may approach the city about receiving. So with that, again, I mentioned there's 13 areas in this 15-page document, but I'm gonna spend some time on the 6 highlighted areas, beginning with development services. And this is not necessarily comprehensive of all the changes, but these are what I would consider to be the substantive changes. or the substantive things that I would want to know about. The first being that residential building permit fees are recommended by staff to remain unchanged. That's something that we're encouraging in the city of Jacksonville, is residential, single-family, and duplex-style housing, and so we are recommending to leave those fees flat. On the commercial side of the equation, we are recommending a fee increase of roughly 25%. It does remain very consistent, as do all these fees, with the community surrounding us in terms of from a benchmarking standpoint. Commercial plan review fees, we're looking to increase that from 1/3 to 1/2 of the permit cost, meaning the city would calculate the commercial building permit cost, and then we would assess 1/2 of that fee in terms of the plan review. So it's very common for cities to outsource plan review on commercial projects because of the intricacies and some of the complexities that can come into play with specific commercial construction projects that may not be present with residential construction. Certificate of occupancy is looking to go from 25 to 100. That's very consistent and probably mid to low as compared to our surrounding communities. Adding a temporary certificate of occupancies with a $250 fee for that. Those require, typically have some type of extenuating circumstance, require additional inspections, certainly reviewed by the building official, fire marshal, and fire chief. A lot of time goes into a temporary CO and all the conditions that may be at play. And then demolition permits, we would seek to maintain $100 on residential properties, but go from 100 to 200 on commercial demolition projects. Moving to the second area, and there'll be a little tweak from what we proposed here that I want to explain on that first one. So on last Thursday, what we discussed was adjusting the user fees for the association participants in both the soccer, baseball, and softball associations from the current $2 per participant per season to the right-hand column there, establishing a resident and a non-resident rate. The reason for doing that, and that is somewhat common, is that the average homeowner here in Jacksonville pays taxes to the city in the amount of almost $1,100 a year. And parks, recreation, and the lake budgets, which all fall under kind of that realm, constitute 7% of the city's budget in the general fund. Therefore, your average homeowner is paying into the park system about $75.17 per annum, whereas a non-resident, maybe somebody living in the county who enjoys the sports complexes and the other parks that we have here in the community, is not supporting the park system through paying property taxes. That's why you see that broken out. Again, very common. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board did meet Friday immediately following last week's Thursday workshop, and they arrived at a recommendation to maintain the $2 per user per season fee. I wasn't part of the meeting, but I think there was a healthy and long dialogue just about making sure that we maintain access to the sports associations. And ultimately, I think it would be my recommendation to accept that recommendation from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The chairman, Mr. Pelletier, is here this evening. Until such time that the Parks and Rec master plan is completed, I think that would present a good time for the city council to review the litany of projects and costs that it identifies, and then to reassess these fees in tandem with the sports associations. So that would be my recommendation. That is a change from last Thursday's presentation. Are there any questions before I move on? Okay.
Both of those associations have a license agreement of some sort?
That is correct.
Yeah, so maybe, our costs continue to skyrocket as far as utilities, lights, maybe we could add something in that license agreement, kind of a user fee in one item, and
Sure.
not just do it per person. So a lot of ideas back there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
The bottom half of the slide there is dedicated to the Jackson, or the City Civic Center. This is out there atop the hill that is also home to the Cherokee Ranch Golf Course out on East 79. There's some adjustments both to reduce some fees and also to increase some fees, but this is based on operating the facility for now over a year and understanding better what clients are looking for, what competition is. And so one thing I think the public will appreciate is that the Saturday rates for the signature and large events, we are recommending a price reduction to maintain competitiveness and attractiveness on a signature event, which is a whole building rental, reducing that price by $1,000, on a large event by $600. Small events have remained competitive, so we recommend no change. On Sunday rates, however, we're recommending fairly nominal increases to signature events, $400, large events, $400, and then small events, $100. All of those rates are reflective of both the private and the nonprofit rates. So But again, that's just what we've learned by operating the facility. So, moving on to the planning and zoning associated fees, you do see kind of a wholesale increase across the board for all services listed in the master fee ordinance related to planning and zoning. Really, this is just because the amount of staff time and board time that goes into these. Many of these services require a meeting of both the Planning and Zoning Commission, potentially the Zoning Board of Adjustment if there's some type of variance being sought, and then certainly the City Council. And so there's a lot of time that goes into that. There's travel, occasionally there's filing fees, there's always public fees for public notice in the Jacksonville Progress. Those have been going up in recent years as well. So we're just doing our best to maintain and offset the costs related to new development. It's very common to hear that current occupants or residents shouldn't pay the price of new people looking to do new things in Jacksonville. So this does a good job at, I think, accounting for that, but maintains a lot of competitiveness. Sanitation, this is one of the fees that isn't necessarily optional at the top. So residential curbside collection, every January we do go up on this. This has been a standard practice. So this is for your 2-time-a-week collection out of the 95-gallon carts that residents are able to put curbside. Those costs would be increasing by 74 cents per month, moving from $24.60 to $25.34. Extra carts, if somebody isn't well served by one cart, they can get up to 4 additional carts. Those come at a cost of $4.37 per month per cart, and that's up just a nominal 13 cents per month. That is non-optional if you're a residential utility customer inside the city limits. You must subscribe to the trash service. That's for health and human safety. On the bulky trash service, this is wholly optional. And there's kind of 2 different ways to benefit from this service that the city operates. The first is the subscription service, which staff is recommending move from $5 to $10 per month. We are recommending that be effective February 26th. That gives the city and staff just a little more time to contact existing subscribers before their automatic withdrawal would potentially increase from $5 to $10 or their water bill. But special pickup is kind of your ad hoc or your a la carte opportunity to benefit from these services. Yard and vegetation waste, we're recommending flat at $35 per month, per use. Pickup truckload, which is roughly 3 cubic yards, we are recommending going up from 45 to 60. Thursday, that recommendation was 45 to 75, but we looked a little bit more at the usage of this, and then current gate rates for city customers at the Royal Oaks landfill, and $60 seemed to be very reasonable for us and still provide a tremendous value to the customer. And then dump truck loads, which are 10 cubic yards, that's roughly 3 pickup truckloads if you have like a half-ton pickup truck. We are recommending moving from $65 to $150, but we feel that that's very competitive. It mitigates the need to rent a dumpster or go rent some type of trailer or tear up your truck or make 3 trips to the landfill. And so we are recommending that move from 65 to 150. Special events, this is something that on Thursday we mentioned to the council, elaborating upon this evening. We've added 4 proposed fees for special events. These are things that are occurring very regularly. In fact, they occurred tonight in at least one instance with a road closure request. But staff is proposing and recommending the implementation of a $50 road closure request. That would just be per a simple 1-page application. Let us know the time, the dates, that you've notified people who may be inconvenienced, and then pay your $50 application fee. If that road closure were to be approved, then a $20 per segment or crossing rate. So if there are like 4 roads that have to be closed, or rather 2 roads but 2 sides to each road, that would be an additional $80. Some of these road closures downtown with all the cross streets, Ragsdale, and the side streets, Wilson and such, you may have up to 10 segment crossings or closings. We've had to actually expand and replace several of our Type 3 barricades, which you see pictured there lately, just to accommodate the number of requests that we've been receiving. And then you see items related to access to power downtown. So a number of years ago, I think in roughly 2020, the city invested in power pedestals downtown. Each of those, I believe, is individually metered. We pay a base rate just to keep those energized throughout the year. They serve us well during, and the chamber well certainly during Tomato Fest. They've served other barbecue type events and things downtown, but there's a cost to that. There was a cost to the implementation. There's also a cost to maintaining them and replacing breakers and servicing them. So just to come out of the gate with something that we think is very reasonable, We're recommending access to the power pedestals per pedestal, and there are roughly 10 downtown. Small events, $20, large events, $100. The reason being, small event may just have a 1 or 2 plugs that need to go in there. Maybe they're just simple 110s. But large events such as Tomato Fest and others that have been held downtown require the deployment of what you see in the upper right-hand side of that screen, which are known as the spider boxes, and thousands of feet of very heavy-duty electrical cabling. Those spider boxes themselves are almost $1,000 a piece now. And so we've invested tens of thousands of dollars into that infrastructure, and we would like to recoup and recommend recouping some of those costs. So we're also recommending a per spider box kind of use fee of $50 per box. So I know for a fact that the chamber, when they conduct Tomato Fest, if you're a vendor and you need access to power, I think there's a $20, a $30, and a $50 option that you pay as a premium to have access to power. And so this is our opportunity to recoup some of the costs and staff time that go into the infrastructure and support of those type of events.
James, can I ask just a couple
Please.
of clarifying questions on that? So with the spider boxes and access to power, so is that being charged, so when it comes to an event, is that being charged to the event organizer or to the vendor?
It would be charged to the event organizer.
The event
If they wanted to
organizer.
recoup a piece of that cost, as does the Chamber
Through
of
the
Tomato
vendor.
Fest, they
That's
could
on
pass
them.
along some of that.
I gotcha.
Because we're
Okay.
paying the electric bill, there's not a really great way of us saying, hey, you were plugged in on Tuesday the 14th, you gotta pay your pro rata share, so we just need to do our best to set a reasonable rate.
Gotcha. And then how are we defining a small event? So I get the analogy you made with a large event being Tomato Fest. How are we defining a small event? Is that 100 people or fewer? Is that one block closeout? How are we defining that?
It's a really great question. I didn't quite get that far, but I was
Okay.
thinking like you, maybe it would have something to do with the number of people, but anytime people are approaching the city about road closures, they think their event's gonna be massive, and then it may turn out to be 20 people or 30 people or what have you. So I think it's really kind of predicated on the amount of staff time that goes into supporting it. I mean, we've had to unlock the box closest to Commerce Street Draft House in the past because they literally wanted to plug like one amplifier into it or something small. I think if we apply a little bit of just discretion, yeah, I think we can probably agree on maybe what may be a small event or large event. Certainly the applicant will know what we deem before they pay, and if they want to, if they, challenge us or have a problem with that, we can
Work it
visit.
out.
But certainly Tomato Fest would be a large event. The JCA Christmas event, that would certainly be a large event. It's multi-block. It brings out hundreds of people. It has dozens of vendors. But something small where somebody wants to plug in under the bridge or something like that for an approved event, I think we'd be able to apply the $20 fee.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I believe we round out the presentation with just kind of a condensed version of the presentation you received from New Gen Strategies last Thursday. Again, similar to the trash, every January we roll out the new rates for water and sewer based on projections and reinvestment that's planned for the system. And so I'll go through a couple of the slides that were presented Thursday, but this was the first one that was presented Thursday. Talks a lot about this running as a business. This is an independent fund. The utility fund is, and it runs water and sewer service as a business independent of property taxes. So we're here tonight at this portion, we're really talking about ratepayers and not necessarily taxpayers. And so we talked a lot about revenue sufficiency, maintaining our debt coverage ratios and having the cash on hand to either leverage additional debt or pay directly for projects. We talked about reserves and a 90-day reserve in terms of operating cash on hand for the water and wastewater utilities. We learned that while that's a really great target, that it's never a bad idea to have a little bit more when you're talking about the cost that one line break or major piece of infrastructure being damaged can cost. And he talked about the fact that your utility fund literally has rainy days. When we incur seasons with additional rainfall, revenue generally goes down, especially if that season correlates with high temperatures because less watering of grass and things like that. And then the money just that we need to reinvest in the system. So I'll just kind of cut right to the chase here. The mayor asked a great question on Thursday. He asked how did these amounts stack up to what was projected for last year, and it's to the penny on every single line item, whether that be a base charge or volumetric charge for both water and sewer on the commercial and the residential side. So this information has been seen before. Specifically tonight, what we're asking the council to adopt is the FY '26 rates, which really are going to correlate with calendar year '26 if you're a utility customer. So what you see on the screen here is for residential inside proposed rates. You have a base rate dependent on your meter size. As you can see there, 4,400 of the accounts, which is by far the majority of the accounts, currently have a base rate of 1444. That would move to 1476. And then your volumetric charges based on the tier of water usage you're in, kind of works like a tax bracket. Your first 0 to 2,000 would be moving from 204 to 209, beyond that 273 to 279, and then 341 to 349. We'll take a look at what the average impact to a customer will be. On the sewer side, looking at an increase of a base rate of 2217 to 2502, and then volumetric charge, which is capped at 10,000 gallons. We don't charge for sewer beyond 10,000 gallons because we assume if you're using that much water at a residence, you're watering your lawn, and therefore we're not treating the water that you're utilizing. We'll be moving from a rate of 454 to 512. There's a lot more investment right now planned and projected on the sewer side of the city's infrastructure, utility infrastructure that is, as opposed to the water side, and that's why you see a little bit bigger uptick in both the minimum and the volumetric charges. Here's a look at what that would do, or what this would do, its impact on our average residential user of 6,000 gallons of water and wastewater per month. And you see the total bill will be moving from $78.85 to $85.84. Looking at the commercial side, the table's a little bit taller. There's more meter sizes. You see the lion's share of the meters, even on the commercial side, do lie in that 3/4 inch or less size. Just looking at that one alone, you see a 2064 to 2110 increase, and then you see very similar volumetric increases there at the bottom of that table. Sewer moving from a base rate of 3484 to 3932. Volumetric charges moving from 648 to 731. We did look on Thursday at how we stacked up compared to the comparators. Again, they were very forward with their cautioning that it's never apples to apples. There's all different kinds of agreements that go into running utility funds, but largely we stacked up about center in both the residential and the commercial in terms of rate structure and total bill. Here would be that average commercial monthly bill impact for the average commercial user using 30,000 gallons of water and wastewater. They would be moving from a total bill of $350.02 to $382.12. And then co-op rates, we didn't spend a lot of time on this. These were shown last year as well, but these are the rates that the city charges its for co-ops to purchase water through meters, and so we'll make sure we pass this along to the co-ops if adopted tonight, so they can plan accordingly for their users. But again, it would be the same thing. We'd be comparing current to the FY26 calendar year there, that first column. That's all that would be locked in by the passage of tonight's ordinance. The out years are really good to project and show people what we think we're planning and what we're aiming for, but they're not set necessarily by the ordinance. And that is my summary of the master fee ordinance.
Very good. So we've heard his summary. I will entertain a motion to accept the master fee either as presented, or you want to amend it based on staff's recommendation, we can do that also. I think the only change he was suggesting was to leave the athletic part, page 7 of 15, those 4, as they are, and then deal with that a little bit later. So if that's your wish, you would need to make your motion accordingly.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the ordinance amending the master fee schedule as presented by staff, city staff.
Okay? We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Tim McRae, a second by Letitia Horace. Any discussion? So when you say city staff, that is leaving the athletic associations as is?
Yeah, as they recommended,
As they
yes.
recommended, okay, just to clarify. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 11, any action out of executive session? There was not any. So we'll go to item number 12, open forum for mayor and council. Anybody want to talk or discuss or comment? All is well? Very good. Nothing down there? Very good.
All good.
All right. 13, city manager's report, Mr. James.
A couple updates Mayor, Council. The first is just a quick update on the Parks and Rec Master Plan. It's currently underway. It kicked off late summer, closer to August. Very thankful for JEDCO funding this on behalf of the city. It kind of correlates with their emphasis on reinvesting into the parks through their Parks and Rec matching grant program. But we lie just a little bit to the right or the east, however you want to look at that, of that blue arrow there. We're kind of in planned development, which is scheduled for November to January. As outlined by our consultant, MHS Planning, this time around November and December and January, people are in the holidays, it's really hard to get public meetings together. So they're really crunching the data that they've received from online surveys and public outreach at events like Trunk or Treat to come up with what they're gonna consider like a draft plan for review. That's gonna be a great time for people to sink their teeth into what that draft plan looks like, provide additional feedback, potentially have some town hall style meetings, and then ultimately still aim for plan adoption in March of 2026, right as we kind of segue into planning for the FY '27 budget. Quick update here. This is an initiative we kicked off last year as well, or this year rather, last fiscal year. This is a partnership with HDR to take a look at all the city's different ICC codes. Those are the International Building Code, Fire Code, Electrical Code, Energy Code. There's a gamut of about 11 of those. We're looking at updating them from either like 2006 to 2008 versions, all the way potentially up to 2024. This is largely in the benefit of homeowners purchasing new homes, certainly the energy side of the equation. Benchmarking is complete. We had a great meeting with them about a week ago, and they will be present, are scheduled to be present at your March City Council workshop to really go through all the changes that they recognize between the 2006 versions that we have currently adopted in the 2024, so we can look forward to that. We expect substantial completion of the boating access grant, TPWD grant project at the lake this month. There'll be a litany of things that we need to continue addressing through the hard winter months, January and February, but we look forward to having a really nice product to roll out to the community in spring of 2026. Utility relocates along Highway 175 to accommodate the state's expansion of the roadway should be substantially complete this month. And the latest information we have from TxDOT, they issue us a weekly kind of rundown on projects throughout the state. They do anticipate completion of Highway 175's widening all the way to Bolton Street in Jacksonville, fall of 2028. So we've got a couple more years, but that's going to be a really beneficial project to the city of Jacksonville. And then lastly, a couple council meetings ago, the city council authorized the sale of some surplus and equipment. And the Vector truck was one of those. We had a guaranteed buyback from the vendor. We had bought the Vector truck in at $135,304 staff relay that we felt we could do a little bit better than that. We were able to sell on auction for $178. The buyer actually ended up paying a little over $200 with the auction fees that they had to absorb. But the city cleared $178 less that guaranteed buyback. We came in just shy of $43,000 more than the guaranteed buyback. So I think that was a good decision.
Wow.
Yeah. And that goes back to the utility fund because that's how we finance that piece of equipment. That's all I got.
So you got?
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll stand adjourned at 6:43, and I thank you for coming.
Yeah,